What You Gotta Do is on now. This is our special Veterans Day episode.
Hello and welcome to What You Gotta Do podcast with your hosts Cody and KT, where we discuss relatable topics and inspire one another to live a simple, abundant life. Hey Cody, how are you doing?
I am fantastic today, KT. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I'm super excited for this really special episode that we're recording today. It's really close to my heart, you know that.
Me too. So, my affinity for Veterans Day started as a child because my birthday happened to fall on the same day. And I just thought
that is the coolest thing ever.
Yes, because I thought there was always a parade on my birthday and I loved it so much. I thought it was so cool. But later in life, when I realized my love for our country and patriotism and the national anthem and our freedoms, especially our freedoms, I have really gained a love for veterans as family members have served, as several of my friends that have served, and I really appreciate veterans and what they do because I have not been able to serve my country in that capacity and put my life on the line for the things I have, and for that I am indebted and grateful.
Yeah, me too. My father served in the Marine Corps for 20 years, and I grew up a military brat. I know that's such a what is that word? Degrading word?
It is a degrading word because, yeah.
And we weren't brats. We were good kids. We moved all the time, every year. I know my sister went to more schools than she went years to school, and she was still a straight A student. I mean, it was actually really fun living in different places. So I'm proud of my dad, and I am proud that my mom and us kids supported him through that, and we're a military family, we'll always be. Now my son serves, he's in the Navy, he's a diver, he's one of the best kids I know. So I just have an affinity for veterans also.
Me too. So do you know that Veterans Day was actually called Armistice Day?
Armistice Day, yeah.
Let me tell you a little bit about Armistice Day. Well, it's on Friday, November 11th of this year, and it started after World War I between the Allied nations and Germany. So the war actually ended, I believe, in February. So I'm sorry, June 28th, 1919 was the official end of World War I. But November 11th, 1918, prior to that, I should say, they proclaimed that day as the first Armistice Day because they called peace on the 11th month of the 11th day at 11 a.m. And they had peace for that time period. And so President Woodrow Wilson proclaimed that as Armistice Day, and then now it's turned into Veterans Day. So I love that. The 11th month, the 11th day, 11th hour.
Cody, what time were you born?
I was born at like 8:30 a.m. I was not an armistice.
Oh, you're a little bit early.
I know.
A little bit early. That's okay. Okay, so Veterans Day honors all those who served our country in war or peace, dead or alive. It is largely intended to thank living veterans for their sacrifices. I wanted to talk a little bit about the difference between Memorial Day and Veterans Day. Mm-hmm. So Memorial Day is a time to remember those who gave their lives for our country, particularly in battle or from wounds suffered in a battle. So I know like on Memorial Day, people say, oh, tell your dad Happy Memorial Day. And I'm like, my dad's alive. Like, why would you do that? I think that some people don't understand the difference, but that's a difference. So November 11th is after 1954, they changed it to Veterans Day from Armistice Day. So we celebrate Veterans Day. Would you like to hear a misconception about Veterans Day?
Yes.
I have two of them.
Okay.
The first one is there is no apostrophe in Veterans Day. When you see our link, it's going to say Veterans Day with no apostrophe. And they say it doesn't belong to any vet or any one veteran group. It's a day for all of us to support all veterans. So it's Veterans Day.
Okay.
How do you like that?
That is pretty cool.
Okay. And a lot of people have the misconception that active duty military are veterans. They are not legally. Under the United States law, a veteran is defined as, quote, A person who served in the active military, naval, air, or space service, I bet they added that recently, and who was discharged or released therefrom under conditions other than dishonorably, unquote.
Okay.
Today is a really special episode. Super excited. I'm super excited that this gentleman has agreed to come on our show. So I want to introduce our very special guest. Colonel Karl Schwelm is the commandant of the Pensacola Marine Corps League Detachment, and it's called the Corporal J.R. Spears Detachment, number 066 out of Pensacola. And I have been to some of his meetings. Super impressive man. I'm so happy you're here. So I want to start out. Welcome, Colonel Schwelm. You were raised basically military child. It sounds like both of your parents were active military-wise.
Sure. Well, this is cool. It's really cool. World War II, of course, everyone got mobilized. My mother ended up being a WAVE, which is the Women's Auxiliary of the Navy. And so she was cerebral, and she taught celestial navigation to young pilots. My father was in the Coast Guard in the Western Pacific, and he was at Leyte Gulf and Marianas, these famous battles, and he had people die and friends die, and he saw a lot of the world. The very night that he got back from the Pacific, he met my mom, and so from that came within a year or so came my older brother. He was born in '46, and I'm born in '48. So we're baby boomers, and mom and dad. So dad was a Coast Guardman. He had a long career and was a chief warrant officer. Mom, of course, did what ladies did in those days. She no longer was in the Navy and became a mom to us, and there were four of us. So we traveled wherever Coast Guard people go, and that kind of picks up the rest of my story. Why did I do what I did? So you want me to just continue to ramble? Or?
Yeah, continue to, because that's our question is, we
Okay.
know you had, if you had a choice to join the military or
Well,
not, coming from your
Yes,
family.
military brat, but I don't call it that way. Proud of my dad, proud of my mom, and they emphasize education, reading. A voracious reader, but when I was about 3 years old, I got my first airplane ride. It was a little crop duster airplane out of Texas. My mom was from Oklahoma, and my dad's from Massachusetts, and so. I was down there briefly, had a ride in an airplane at 3, and I remember it. My dad was then transferred to Newfoundland, and most people have no idea where that is. They think it's near New Mexico, probably, but
I don't.
Newfoundland is up in Canada, and he was crewing on a plane called a PBY, capital P, capital B, capital Y. And I saw my first helicopter, and so at age 4, I told Mom, I'm going to fly one of those one day, and I ended up flying a helicopter much like the first one that I ever saw. So I'm one of those blessed people that since age 4, I've known what I wanted to do, was fly helicopters. At age 10, because the Coast Guard is part of the Navy, and we go to Navy bases, and there are people on the gate, Marines or Navy. It quickly became apparent who I wanted to be. I wanted to be a Marine because Marines look good. They're always sharp and trim, and effective and courteous, best friend or worst enemy sort of attitude. And so age 4, I wanted to fly. Age 10, I knew I was going to be a Marine. I was again, back to reading voraciously. I was allowed to go to the United States Naval Academy, and I played a lot of sports and actually graduated from the Naval Academy, and then chose Marine Corps, as I had already done when I was 10 years old. So,
Wow. So how does that work if you graduate from the Naval Academy, but you join the Marines? Do they get mad at that? Is that
no.
frowned upon?
You know, there's a certain personality type that chooses the Marine Corps. Let me put it that way.
I'm familiar with that.
I don't think young men join the Marine Corps focus on what college they're going to go to. I think they're focused on what kind of man am I what is inside of me, and that's why we're the only service to meet our recruiting goals. We challenge the individual. We don't tell them what you're going to get. We challenge and say, you're not good enough. Perhaps come see if you can compete and earn that Eagle, Globe, and Anchor, and that's what makes us different. We are the sheepdog of society. Yeah, we're the defenders of the good and pure.
Protectors.
That's the way I look at it.
Yeah. I love it. The defenders of the good and
Yes,
pure.
ma'am. We try.
I
We're
love that.
back to mere men, though. Okay.
Yeah, absolute men. But I think Katie and I talk often about how masculinity and like being manly is missing today in society. It's frowned upon or pushed away, but I really love the fact that the Marine Corps promotes that still
ma'am.
in men
Yes.
and women, bring out the best in people.
Well,
So
we try. We are flawed, though. There's no doubt about it.
Aren't we all?
no, for sure,
Yeah.
for sure, we all
We
are.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, we all are. So, are you involved in recruiting at all for the Marine Corps?
Oh no,
I know you're.
I carry cards all the time, and I'm constantly recruiting for the league. Those are Marines who've been out a few years and are missing the camaraderie. I don't care. I'll go back to where my point was, but it takes a few years to defuse. But at some point, the men, just like KT's dad, and we share those same initials. That's why it was so. We
Yes,
became
we
friends so quickly. I'm KT, and she's KT.
That's right.
It is something that bond that society is missing. The Marine Corps is different because they break us all down. And to earn that Eagle, Globe, and Anchor is special. All Marines are riflemen first. Marine leaders always take care of their men first. These things are just ingrained into us. And we go through a process at the basic school where it doesn't matter what you're going to do. Like me, I was, guaranteed to fly, and other people are guaranteed to do whatever, law or whatever. But you all go through that single focused support the Marine grunt, the O3, the mud soldier, the mud Marine that is in combat. So we all learned about that. It fascinating. I almost gave up my aviation guarantee because I had so much fun with unit patrols and ambushes and all this stuff. Now remember, this was we're still in Vietnam when I graduated school. But back to your earlier question, Congress sets the percentage of how many people can go Marine Corps. And of course, it's based on the needs of the service. And so out of every Naval Academy class, there's only a certain number of people that can go Marine Corps.
Oh, interesting.
And so I was, even though I was middle class, I was almost towards the end of who got to go Marine. So when people think Marines aren't very smart, I can assure you that there's very, very smart Marines out there.
Yes, I know.
Absolutely. And speaking of that, so you became an engineer.
Well, I got my engineering degree there at the Naval Academy.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And then did you end up using that?
I know what a PERT chart is. That's all. No, everything is linear in process. It doesn't hurt to have the engineer in mind. We've got a grandson that just graduated, and he's an engineer. It's the only boy. Everybody else is a girl. My daughters and my granddaughters. We finally got one boy, and he's precious, but he's an engineer, mechanical engineer, as I said, and a Bulldog, a Georgia fan. Yeah,
Georgia fan. Oh, I'm so sorry.
I got you. Uh-oh.
Just kidding. That's too funny. So I know that we wanted to talk about a little bit of the time in your service. You had mentioned, I believe it was Desert Storm.
Sure.
When we had our call.
Sure. Yeah, let me address that. Wow. So here I am. I do 8 years of active duty. I loved being a Marine. The finest rank in the military is a rank of captain, 03, not a 06 captain in the Navy or Air Force or whatever it is, but in the Navy. But a captain. So you start out as second lieutenant, first lieutenant, then you become a captain, and you're just at the perfect time of your life, physiologically, intellectually, health and strength wise, and on and on and on. It was just the best of times, but the president at our time turned his back on our nation. We were wrapping up Vietnam. It would take another 4 years, I guess, well, a little longer than that. So I left active duty and quickly realized that I missed it. And I had been blessed to be talked into taking a reserve commission. So even though I was in the medical field at the time in Atlanta, I then took on flying a different helicopter than I started out with. I initially started out flying 46s, so I got to put a plug in here. This little thing is not Shaka Bra. This is a 46 going through the air. It's a tandem rotor, and we say we say frogs forever. PHROGS forever, and that's our mantra. The frog doesn't fly much anymore. I guess the State Department has a few, and that became an Osprey is the what came out of that. But I switched over to Atlanta. And I started flying Cobra helicopters, and so in 1990, in the fall, as you know, Saddam invaded from Iraq into Kuwait, and we jumped our 101st Airborne. I guess I apologize to them. It was 82nd, 101st in to kind of be a roadblock, and then we mobilized, and it was such a beautiful thing. I mean, it was on the scale of a World War II. We were, as reserves, recalled to active duty. That was fun. We did a lot of training. A lot of neat stuff showed up that we didn't normally have. Inertial navigation that we never had before, and TACAN and just other stuff. And of course, gas, all dealing with the reality of the type of warfare. And so we had to learn a lot of processes that fall, but we were mobilized. They announced at our birthday ball in Atlanta, and we had General Ray Davis, who was a Medal of Honor winner from Korea time frame. He was our guest of honor, and then at the end of that evening, they announced that we were deploying. So the reserves were not used in Vietnam, but the reserves were used in the first Gulf War, or Desert Storm, Desert Shield. And so we put our helicopters in the aircraft that were right there at Dobbins Air Base in Atlanta, where they build the C-5s. And we took them to the West Coast, and we reassembled them and made sure they could still fly. And then we flew them aboard ships at 32nd Street there at San Diego. And we, the reserves, actually worked through Thanksgiving while the active component got to be with their families. So we're all the way across country. So it was kind of fun because the West Coast was guarded by my classmates from the academy. We then deployed on to Hawaii and picked up another squadron. My classmates were defending Hawaii against Saddam Hussein. And then we went to the Philippines, and I had classmates defending the Philippines against Saddam Hussein, and I kept going west. And so then all of a sudden I'm going into the Gulf as part of that, which turned out to be a classic demonstration, offshore demonstration off of Kuwait. And the rest is history. We did it right. We massed our forces, and we overwhelmed them, and we gave them true shock and awe, I think. And we won. And I call that a moral war because when a nation state invades another one, the world needs to step up and do the right thing. And we did the right thing.
Oh, yeah.
In that Desert Storm, Desert Shield. So came home and
I remember being glued to the news, watching every step of it. 24-hour
news. I bet
news,
you tied a yellow ribbon around that old oak tree too.
I probably did, yeah.
I think that I remember, from what I remember of that war, I think that was the most technological I've seen warfare get. It just seemed like the missiles were different, new missiles, like new technology,
Yes.
I feel like that started this whole tech war
Yes.
thing. And it's just incredible, like to go back to that and see how far it's progressed even from then.
Right. Well, I all through my life, I've I've known that there was a hand on me. Perhaps I was raised in the church, but not totally committed. But when you see this massive buildup, and again, as I say, you have the moral right on your side, and you feel like God's on your side, and all the things that happen as you wend your way across the world to the other side of the world, and you're there in the Gulf, and the wind blows the right way, so that if he did use gas, it would not have affected us on a massive scale. I was aboard the USS Tripoli, February 18th of 1991, and ironically, we were challenged to find minefields, and so I was flying armed escort for Navy helicopters out of Oceana, and we cut some mines and that sort of a thing, and we were doing an okay job. But that morning, about 4:36 exactly in the morning, and I was standing up because I was briefing for the morning flight. We detonated a mine. Again, the hand of God. The mine was a classic floating mine with the bumps on it and stuff, and it blew a tremendous hole in the wall, probably a 20 by 40 foot hole in the side of the ship. But the opening, the compartment that it blew into, was actually the starboard storage tank for fuel. Well, in America, we have the money and resources to make things safe, so it did not explode, it did not ignite.
Wow.
And so we fought that, we being the people aboard ship who are so wonderful. The Navy really steps up when it comes to casualty control and that. And the gentleman in charge got a Silver Star, rightfully, but over about a 4-day period, we were able to save the ship. And then we limped back. And so we had swept enough mines. We had located the minefield. The battleships moved in and initiated the ground war. So you folks were watching every night the air war going on until we could get the close gunfire support in from the battleships, Missouri, and I forget which other one it was. I apologize to them. They'll beat me up. But there were 2 battleships, and they could help the ground forces, and so we kicked off the ground war and wrapped that up. We came home, and life went on. So
you were spared.
We were spared. We were spared. I didn't lose them. I didn't lose a
for
man.
The cause.
I did not lose. I promised, in my strength, I promised. My wife knows this. At our last briefing, I promised the wives and children of all my men. We did not take any women with us. We're Marines at that time. There were no Marines, female. And so, but I promised that I'd bring all their loved ones home, and we did, but it wasn't me. It was truly of God, from God. And I praise him. Thank you.
I was wondering that this morning. I was talking to KT about this, and I wanted to ask you, I mean, to be a leader in the military, that is a huge mantle to bear on your shoulders. And like you said, you promised those men's wives, their families, that you would bring them home safely. I wanted to ask you about how do you deal with being a leader of these young men?
Well, not well.
And that
not well sometimes, and physiologically, I used to have a gorgeous head of hair, and honestly, it was reported to my friends as I visited those places, and I remember a phone call there in the Philippines to a friend's wife, one of my classmates' wives, saying, "Carl's here, and he doesn't have a gray hair." Well, within a few months, I had gray hair, and then because I was flying every day with my helmet on, I got this big old landing zone bald spot, and so that's the outward manifestation. Inward, you learn what you can do and can't do, and as you're realizing, in my own personal strength, I promised something that I couldn't, but God honored that and honored us, and the casualties were minimal, and I'm not to minimize the loss of any American in that Gulf War, but we lost very, very few, and that was a wonderful outcome. But leadership is a learned thing, and I'm still learning. I'm trying to lead the Marine Corps League, and I fail often. I'm trying to be humble. I'm trying to ask forgiveness. We got senior leaders, that maybe don't want the mantle of being the titular head, but who are there to draw upon. So the military's. I love being a Marine. Perhaps I can only brag about the Marine Corps, but take it back all the way. A kid doesn't go to the Marines to say, hey, what am I going to get in college? I want to be challenged as a man or woman now, and I want to lead other people. And so we're all broken down, no matter what color we are. We're all Marines. We're honored and blessed to be brothers and Marines. We take care of each other, and that's why, at the end of this call, I'm going to be with a Marine, because from cradle to grave, we have a promise. We're the few, we're the proud, we're the Marines, and we will take care of our people. So,
I love that. Thank you. You've said a couple times, you've mentioned God a few times, which I think as a leader, you have to have a belief in God and put that there first, because he's the ultimate protector. That's why you probably joined the Marines. You have some love of God that wants to allow people to continue to have the freedoms that we have.
Well, I mentioned the fact that Marines are pretty intelligent. So I think on some level, we acknowledge that there's someone more powerful than us. But for me, it's a deep and ever deepening relationship with the Lord. And I hope, and again, I'm flawed and I make mistakes, but I'm hoping to, on whole, hear that statement, welcome Marine, good and faithful servant, right?
Yeah, welcome back.
Welcome. Yes.
Welcome back. Exactly.
Yes,
That's fantastic.
Yes.
So you've mentioned Marine Corps League. I looked at some of the charities and nonprofits that you all support, like Toys for Tots and things like that. Miracle League Network is something that I get involved with here locally in my own city through Rotary International.
Okay, well, I'm a Kiwanian as well. I wear another shirt often. So you're a Rotarian, huh?
Yes, sir.
Well, we Kiwanis is changing the world one child and one community at a time, and that's when I hang up my leadership in April here. I will totally focus over on my Kiwanis. I've already got a school for the K Kids program, and I love reading books, and I'm childlike in many ways. So that's a fun thing for me. Yeah. KT, you've been awful quiet. What you want?
I have been quiet. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about where you were stationed and where you lived, because I was looking at your bio, and I think we both lived. I lived probably 5 years. My dad was stationed at Tustin, LTA helicopter base, and I lived right on the base. Yes. We left there in 1976, so I think I was there from like 71 to 76. So.
Well, guess what? We were together, young lady, but I was married. So, okay.
I think I was like in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th grade. So, it was a beautiful place to grow up. Yeah. And I also lived in Kaneohe Bay.
Kaneohe.
I think I was like 3, 4, and 5. My son, who is a Navy diver, he just bought a house in Kaneohe.
Well, for you, Cody, you may own the house, but you don't own the land in Hawaii.
Is that what it is?
It's a 99-year lease.
No, he doesn't need.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, that
he's just happy. He's just happy to have his house.
Okay, so I mentioned that girl that I met. Well, she had some extra baggage. So when finally our Plymouth Duster. Well, let me go all the way back. It's kind of cute because. When I met her, I had $100 bill in my wallet. I had everything I owned in the back seat of my GTO. And by the time we married, and she had her 2 children from her first marriage, we had changed the GTO into a Plymouth Duster. And we started our journey together out to Tustin, LTA. And that's where the big blimp hangars are, light in the air. LTA is what that stands for. And
Okay.
went through the replacement squadron, 301, and then I joined my first squadron, HMM 161, for training. We were blessed because unusual for a brand new lieutenant to already have two children. We actually got wonderful housing at El Toro. So we were up in brand new housing. It was beautiful. And it probably made EJ stay with me through those hard times of integrating this tough Marine. And all of a sudden there's three women in the house. And so anyway.
That's a shocker.
Yeah. And so if y'all remember, I believe April 29th of 1975 is when we did an 18-hour military operation out of Saigon and called Frequent Wind. And so I was with EJ scrubbing floors of our El Toro home to pass inspection to go overseas. So I missed any sort of combat or interaction in Vietnam by basically 6 weeks. So that was, and I floated on two different LPHs. I already mentioned the USS Tripoli. I was aboard Tripoli as well as USS Nolens or New Orleans. And we were doing, we were flying out of QB Point in the Philippines, and we traveled the whole Southeast Asia. But have never stepped foot in Vietnam. I've been just about everywhere else. After that year tour, came to Kaneohe, Hawaii, and I flew Pedro, which is a real pretty helicopter, 46 helicopter that's all painted up because it's a rescue helicopter. So I flew the HH-46, which had little tiny Dash 8 engines. Doesn't mean anything, but folks that know aviation know that. And I flew the T-28, and I flew the Stoof. I'm actually one of only two people in the Marines that I know of that were a S2 instructor. I went to Corpus Christi in 1977, I think, and had some guys out of the academy class of 73 be my instructors. So within a month, I became an instructor pilot. It was a great, great tour, but I left because I felt that the decisions made by that current president were detrimental and harmful and putting us at risk out in the active component. So I'm really proud of the guys who stayed the whole time and stayed with it through those tough years. And then, of course, Reagan came along, and the rest is history. We rebuilt our forces and rekindled our passion as a nation. And the Gulf War was, to me, a culmination of that sort of thing. But I finally, after the Gulf War, I came home and I got a squadron in Nolens, New Orleans, there at Belle Chase, Louisiana. And that was a lot of fun. And then I was the air officer for the Marine Forces Reserve there in Nolens again. And I love Cajun food. I love Cajun people, and that was a great, great time. And I retired in 1996 from active duty. So I meet kids now that, they started in 1998 or 2001, and they're already retiring. They've got their 20 years. So
That's so crazy. It's so crazy how you look back and there's already, you've been replaced.
Yeah. And that's a good thing.
Like you've been
Right.
replaced. Yeah, it is
Yeah.
a good thing. We interviewed a girl who was in the Coast Guard.
Kyla, yeah.
We did interview
I
her.
listened to her. Well, the Coast Guard, the Coasties have excellent pilots. I learned that over the years. They really choose only the cream of their crop. I think
She was saying it was
yeah.
like flying, flying like a fly in the air. Like that's what you're flying in. It's
okay.
a helicopter, but that's what if you were a fly.
Okay, I got it.
That's what it would be like in the air. It was kind of a cute analogy.
And
I
they
think
they
I
have
messed
some
it
neat
up, I'm
missions.
sure.
They got some neat places to go, and they got some really tough places to go. And Coast Guard aviators are pretty cool. So that's good.
That's cool.
Yes, ma'am.
Very cool. Well, I want to talk about a little bit more about your Marine Corps birthday that's coming up in Pensacola, the 5K, and can we promote that? Help you promote that?
You
a bit?
sure can. Let me go back and brag on this group. And again, I only plugged in. I came here in 2019 and 2020, and I went to a meeting like KT Daddy showed up at a meeting, and then I made the mistake of going to the restroom. And this is how it happens in organizations like this. They'd voted me as their new commandant. So it's kind of a joke, but not really a joke. That's kind of how it is. If you're not here, we volunteer you for something, and it's been a labor and a labor of love. But these guys, we put on a wonderful car show in the spring. This past year, we got a great relationship with the Five Flags Speedway with Tim Bryant and his wife, who own that, and that's a NASCAR race track here in Pensacola. We do that. We had 81 cars, which I'm told is one of the biggest ever. We'll go over 100 next year. And then we shift into a thing called Heroes Among Us. We have a gentleman named Ed Rouse that vets all these people. So we try to find people in the community that are not Marines that are heroes. We always have one Marine, of course, to speak. But this year we'll have 2 Army guys. We'll have our last event the 27th of October at Veterans Memorial Park. And that's a Major General Adams, who was Special Forces in Vietnam. But we've had Coastie, we've had Air Force SR-71 pilot, and we've had a corpsman, Fleet Marine Force corpsman. And so we do 6 of those. And then we quickly and long term, we're focused on this Semper Fi 5K. So the car show brings in money for the league to spend for necessary stuff, and it's not a lot of money. The Heroes Among Us brings in some money that we put into our Veterans in Distress Fund, and then we shift over to the 5K, and traditionally all of that money has gone to children's charities. This year, because of my background in business and other issues, we are shifting some of our money into our Veterans in Distress Fund. I think we're going to go. I am forecasting that we're going to go through tough times here as a nation, and our veterans. There are many veterans that don't have access to things that other people have. So we'll just leave it at that. So we got the Semper Fi 5K. We'll get back to that in a moment, and then we're going to shift over to a project called Blanket Barrancas. I'm not wearing the logo, but we are named after Corporal J.R. Spears. His dad, Tim, and his 2 daughters still carry the torch for Tim. He was a Tate High School football player here, and so I'll take you all the way back to the start. Tim was told by the Marine Corps recruiters that you're too big. He had played football for Tate High School. He was great. And he needed to lose about 100 pounds if he wanted to be a Marine. He did that. It took him about a year and a half. He joined. He went over to Iraq one tour. He came home, and he went a second time, and he was killed in action on that second one. So October 23rd. So that's coming up pretty soon. Tim was killed. So continue the tragedy. His mom mourned, grief so hard and so long that within 3 years she was found at his gravesite in Barrancas National Cemetery. Her body was there, and so she is buried with her son now. That's quite unusual, but unusual circumstances. People do the right thing, and so Corporal J.R. Spears, we honor him every day with our shirts, with our voices, with our detachment. And it's just it's very very meaningful, his sacrifice, and he's just one of so many. So let me switch over to the 5K run that we're trying to support right now. We have a state representative. Her name is Michelle Salzman. She was, I believe, Air Force. She's become a powerful voice for veterans. And so we here in Pensacola, we're a Navy Marine Corps community. She's promoted what is called Veterans Week. So we will start on our particular, we actually have a wall that duplicates the Vietnam Wall up in Washington. It's a little bit downsized from that, but it has all the names. We have 58,217 or 300, whatever it is. And so starting on Saturday, the 5th of November, the public can sign up for 15-minute blocks to read names of the people on the wall. And that will be all finished by Thursday. I think they're saving another 100 names for Friday, which is actually the physical Veterans Day, Friday, the 11th day,
Friday
the
the
11th month, the 11th hour for the service. And so our city, our Veterans Memorial Park, will honor that whole week. There'll be a parade. It'll end there. There'll be a guest speaker. It's just going to be tremendous. The night before, we, the Marine Corps League, we have our own birthday ball. And we are in great hope that a Vietnam veteran, that he can come and be our, whether he shows up or not, it's 247 years birthday balls. And if you've ever been to a Marine birthday ball, it is a lot of fun.
I'm going to my first one. I'll be
Okay.
there.
Well, very nice. And so we're going to have a corpsman that earned the Medal of Honor in Vietnam as our guest. If he can make it, health and other issues contribute there. And so that's all great. And then that Saturday morning, we will do our Semper Fi 5K run. We could use runners. Yes, ma'am. We want the community to re-engage with us. You know, after COVID, we couldn't have the run 2 years ago. We had it last year. We got less than 400 runners in a community that could easily support 1,000 or more. And all that money is going to charities, of which one charity is the one that I mentioned, Veterans in Distress Fund. But it'll be shared. We've already dispersed money to Santa Rosa Kids House. So we're supporting abused children at Santa Rosa Kids House. We are supporting autistic children at Vision of Hope. We are supporting children that don't have all the resources that we have. On the west side of Pensacola, it's called Be the Miracle. And then again, Uncle Sam's Misguided Children and other veterans who are in distress. We give them a hand up. We don't give them a hand out. And that fund is called our Veterans in Distress Fund. So, and then, as I said, we can rest. I'm just drafting an email. We can rest. It says take a break on the 13th, and then we go right back into when we do the wreaths, the memorial wreaths at Barrancas. Our league has not just J.R. Spears' grave, but we have 2,500 Marine graves to cover. They cost $15. These are memorial wreaths, not Christmas wreaths. We do it with dignity and honor and respect. We need volunteers from the community to help put them out with dignity and respect. We need people to pony up the $15 for the wreath. It's part of a Wreaths Across America program. And so it's just busy. And I am so proud to be leading, listening, and following others. And we're on the footsteps, or we're on the shoulders of giants, as we, guys before me. That we're just part of the timeless march of the Marine Corps. 247 years of caring.
I love it.
Community.
I love it.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm hearing a take to action or a call to action from you would be to get involved, donate, walk, run, do something.
Well, that's fascinating. I think I never thought of this because I love collecting T-shirts, but folks in Michigan and Wisconsin and wherever, just go on. There's a on the internet. Go log on and sign up,
I'll put the link.
don't come. What's that called? Virtual. I'm told that a little less than 7,000 steps mirrors the 5K. So
it's only 3 miles.
If you support us and you go walk 3 miles that day, you supported the Marine Corps, and you didn't have to travel.
I love it because I had planned on attending and having that weekend is my birthday, so we were going to do the 5K, and then I got engaged and we're going to get married in December, so we're not going to have time to go to a 5K. But I will run, but I will donate and I will run or walk that day for sure.
Okay, well, encourage other people because that virtual thing, it's really kicked in, and people say that's what I want to do, and it might motivate them to get up and go outside. So.
I love it.
Maybe it's a win-win.
We will put it on our website. We'll put it on Instagram. We'll promote it for you from this end too. That's fun. Carl, is there anything that you want to add before we wrap up today?
No, just God bless America. That's
Amen.
That's
Amen.
I'm proud to be an American.
The tagline at the end of our show that we say, Carl, is take action, claim freedom.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's something that's really important to me is keeping that freedom and our Constitution intact.
Yes, ma'am. Well, thank you both.
Thank you so much.
Everything's good? You didn't talk much, young lady.
I just listen. I just love to listen.
Okay. Okay. Well, I love your heart. And tell your daddy.
She's a good woman.
I'm looking forward to seeing him soon. Okay.
We want to say thank you very much. We honor you for your service to our country. We thank you for your ongoing service to all of our vets. And may God bless you and your family.
God bless you and keep you as well. Thank you so much.
We'll see you soon.
Bye-bye. Right on
Good
time.
luck
You guys
today.
are amazing. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. We want to thank Colonel Schwelm for being on our podcast. I'm so grateful he was here. Wasn't that awesome, Cody?
It was. He's such a delightful man, and he's so involved in his community. I loved it. He has a great energy.
He is, and he does so much for veterans. I mean, I go to these Marine Corps leagues with my dad when I'm in town with him. I help him get there and all. And they truly are focused. They really care. What a wonderful place to live as a veteran.
Own.
Yeah. It's beautiful. And you know what? I'm so happy that my father's a part of that because there will be times when he needs them. And I feel so lucky that they're there for him.
I am really excited. I'm sad that I wasn't able to participate in the 5K, but that he gave us an idea to participate still because I really do think it's a worthy cause, and it's always fun, and it gives me a reason to get my butt back out running. So I'm really excited about that.
And for those of you in the Pensacola area, I'll be there. I'm going to be passing out packets and helping out for the 5K. So I'll be there. My brother Tommy's going to come and run the 5K. So it's going to be a really fun time. And there's probably some in your neighborhood. So look up veterans groups, look up Marine Corps League. I know there's a Navy League. You can help, you can support, you can donate money. They really need the money. So I know he was talking about the car show, and they do little fundraiser things. And one meeting I was there, they had done an event. I don't remember which one, but they did an event, and they raised enough money to buy a vet that had he needed a wheelchair, like a full-on, fully loaded wheelchair because he couldn't get around. And they raised enough money, went and bought him that wheelchair and took it to him. I mean, that's getting it done. That's wonderful. So I'm super thankful for the people that help veterans.
Now it's time for Warm, Fuzzy, Cold, Prickly.
I get to be Cold Prickly today. It's my turn. And as you know, Cold Prickly is something kind of crappy or something you're thinking about or need some help and want to hash it out. We talk about it. And then we do Warm Fuzzy, which is something really wonderful, awesome, made you feel good, made you happy that you want to share. So I'm Cold Prickly. My Cold Prickly today, Cody Hardy, as you know, I texted you. Those half-tuck shirts. What in the world is that? You know, like when you tuck in half of the shirt and then your stomach, like the other half is hanging out. I don't get it.
So you're talking about not just the front part. You know how that's in style too. It's the front. You're talking about like a button-down shirt where one part of
like the right side is tucked in and then the left side's hanging there. You know what? You look like you just got caught doing something in the other room and you couldn't tuck in all the way. It's not a good look. I don't like it, and I don't want to see it. And if someone comes up to me like that, I'm going to say, uh-oh, you're untucked. It's wrong. It's just wrong, Cody.
The fashion today in general, I just can't. It's like the high-waisted pants that I hated in the 90s. The, like, florally dresses that are like petticoats or like, they just look pilgrimy. I don't fit in. And I need to get clothes. I need to buy pants. And I just refuse to go shopping because I hate the styles.
So those dresses, it's funny. I mean, I have quite a few of them just because they fit me well and I'm older. But I do feel like a part of a cult. You know those cults where the women all wear those layered floral dress. Not floral, but I mean, they can be gingham. They can be anything. But they have those layers on them and they're, you know, almost to the ground. And I feel like I should have my hair up in a bun with little piece of cloth on top. Yeah. But I do have a few because they're comfortable. So.
Well, I don't own one. I just refuse. I refuse. It reminds me too much of high school, so I'll pass. My warm fuzzy today is my college football team that I have recently adopted. Won again today. They are undefeated.
What, is that OSU? They won again?
Yes, OSU. Next week is their homecoming, and we play another Texas team. I can't remember whom. But I'm really excited to go to the homecoming parade. We don't have tickets to the game, but we're going to tailgate and go up.
I love college football.
I'm excited.
I'm not a big NFL, just it got so political and it's just too... But college football, incredible, super fun.
Oh, I love it. It's so much fun. And it's so much fun to live in a town and a city where... it's big. There are actual huge rivalries, like not too far. Like in Arizona, it was Arizona State and University of Arizona. But, you know, I didn't go to ASU, and so I don't really have that rivalry. But here, I mean, I haven't gone to OSU either. But
it's your hometown though now, so you gotta be
here.
part of it. That's cool.
It is. All right. Well, that about wraps up this week's episode with Colonel Karl Schwelm. Remember to support your veterans. Take action and claim freedom.
Bye, Cody. Thanks for the special episode. Thank you for listening to What You Gotta Do. The music for this podcast is written, produced, and performed by Joe Steitler. Production manager and host for What You Gotta Do podcast is Cody Hardy. Creative director is Matt Johnson. I'm KT Johnson, your co-host and editor. This has been a hell of a production.